Five. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Sterling McKinley, and tonight we have a great guest with us tonight. We have Dr. Eric Holmes. He's a speaker, a trainer, and a life coach. But once again, this is In the Black, and every week we share stories of diverse entrepreneurs. We share their journey, their challenges, their success stories, and how they built a profitable business. And not only a profitable business, but how they become profitable in all areas of their life, whether that's financial, spiritual, mental, but also their business. So, Dr. Holmes, welcome to the program.
Hey, what's up, my brother? Listen, Sterling, thank you so much, my awesome, amazing brother, for this opportunity just to be on this amazing podcast and to share with you. I'm just super excited, always humble and a
Thank you.
privilege to share in the opportunity here with anyone or on anyone's platform. It's a privilege
Yeah,
because people don't
thank you.
have to. So it's a
It-
privilege, and I love what you're doing. So I
right.
follow you every week, and I'm just excited to be here.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I was on your podcast a while ago, and thanks again. And like you said, we got to support each other. So, we have platforms, we have books, speaking, whatever. Let's definitely share that. So, I give a brief bio because I hate reading bios because they're long and boring. But I want to turn it over to you, and I want you to take 30 seconds to a minute and tell us who is Dr. Eric Holmes and what do you do?
And I'm like you, long bios and all that. Just get right to the point, because some people get offended when you don't read them all. They can read them, and your work will speak for you. My name is Dr. Eric Holmes. Everybody calls me Dr. E. I'm a native of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Went to school, went to college. Come from a family of eight, and five brothers, two sisters. Moved here to Maryland. Been in a employee of Johns Hopkins, an essential healthcare worker for the last 25 years. I'm a certified life coach, certified behavioral health and mental health coach, a
Wow.
best-selling author, um, and I am a servant who just said yes, and so that's just all of it. People can read all the accolades, got degrees and all of that, but the mere fact that I'm just a servant and I'm just one John to just continue to push, press, and pursue purpose to connect with destiny.
All right, great. Thank you for that. So, let's start off. You mean you do so much. So let's go back to when you first started. You're speaking and really got started. Really beginning in your career. Can you talk to us about some of your early experiences?
Actually, it started, or as my first lady would say, it's already in you. What you've been doing or what your purpose is, you already been doing. It just sometimes catches up
Right.
to the timing and season, the maturity. And
Right.
so I've been speaking like from school when I was little, all of
Okay.
that.
Right.
But it just really caught up to the maturity now. And
Okay.
so even me going to different schools, different trainings, or even when I did powerful public speaking at the Cary Business School and
Okay.
developing that craft and that career, even as a minister of the gospel. So speaking is already in the natural
Right.
as well as in the spiritual. And so the journey began. One, it started when I was younger. But as we grow, mature, and develop, then you really start to come into what you've
Right.
really been called to do. And so
Right.
now here I am in the maturity and the timeless, even, but
Yeah.
yet always perfecting my craft.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Like you said, I think from childhood we all I think have a path and a purpose, and if we get older we discover that. So, for you, what was that phase where you really started to take your speaking and your career, I guess, more seriously? What was that transition like for you?
One being asked one to whether it was on. I've done a radio, so of course I'm a radio host too.
Okay.
So with radio and being on radio, even before becoming a radio host, uh, it was like whether it was in school or whether you were called to speak, whether it was funerals, whether it was weddings, whether it was just to give an invocation, whether it was to give a greeting. So it's always been
Right.
I was being called to speak somewhere,
Okay.
but me not knowing that that would be part of the journey as a
Right.
speaker. And so being called in different things or speaking at different events, family reunions, you just name it, was just speaking,
Right. It's
but
natural.
for
Okay.
us it's not like, oh, this is what I've been called to do
Right.
as a be a speaker. But now with the maturity, as I said, and the journey and the process, is now that is part of who I am.
Okay, great. All right, so what were some of those early lessons you learned? Just like you said, speaking was natural. You always did it, but what are some early lessons you learned about speaking and also about yourself?
One of the things is always surround yourself with those with wisdom, knowledge
Okay.
of where you're trying to go. For those who can love you enough to tell you the truth
Right.
and that help mentor you into where you're going. And a lot of times people don't love people enough to tell them the truth. So I remember as a minister of the gospel, my sister, I would send her my sermons of when I preached. And she's
Okay.
like, you said this too many. Now she's an educator, so you already know. She picks up on all the language and all of this.
Right.
And even my first lady being my professor in my second master's and in my doctoral program. But even early on as a minister in the gospel, wow, it's been 22 years. And so she would say, you said this too many times, go back and listen. So
Right.
she
Right.
would make me go back and listen. And so
Okay.
what I do now, I go back and listen.
Right.
When I listen to myself and I listen, and then I say, wow, if I said, say, we use and I made it say I use it 4 times. I'm just using that because I learned those different type
Right.
of things in powerful public speaking as well.
Hmm.
And so not to say we say
Right.
and we say all these different filler words so much that we really don't realize we've said it, but she brought it to my attention. So now I'm
Hmm.
more keen because I can hear my sister now. If I'm
Right.
going to speak, I'm like, wait a minute, did I da 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 da? But I go back and listen. And so making
Okay.
sure you have people that can pour and share that knowledge or that wisdom. And I even remember when I preached a message and my pastor called me and was giving me, it's his job to help develop us. He was like, son, X, Y, X, Y, Z. So now
Right.
when I prepare my sermons or now when I have to speak,
Hmm.
I practice, I perfect my craft, I
Right.
study, and you have to do that.
Yeah, I like what you said, and I think too, playing things back. A lot of times those filler words that we say are curse words, they dilute our message sometimes. So, it's all about one speaking, but making sure that people that are hearing you are receiving your message. And the cleaner your delivery can be, the better. So I appreciate that. And then also, the points of having a mentor. Was it anybody else early on who kind of pushed you in a certain direction or told you that, hey, do this better or encouraged you?
I had teachers. See, when we were coming up, we had guidance counselors.
Right.
We had teachers that they loved what they did. I know we're in a whole new generation now,
Right.
but they made us. I remember one of my algebra teachers who just passed several months ago. I remember him making me take an exam. Or he said, "And I know you're not finished."
Right.
But he made me take that over. One of my
Right.
typing teachers, Miss Blaze, she said, "Listen, I need you to go back and do that again." So she
Right.
made me take my. That's why I can type real good today,
Okay.
but they made us. They didn't
Right.
just settle for, oh, I was finished, or
Right.
I had a biology teacher, Dr. Love. Now at that time, my sister was on the school board. He's like, I'm calling your sister. I had to go back, take the exam, and I'm glad I did because I
Right.
got an A. You know what I'm saying? What if he didn't love me enough or to help me enough to make me go back and do it? Because he could have said, well, okay, you finish, but that wasn't the case.
Right.
They made sure that we
Hmm.
had that knowledge. And so we had good teachers and guidance counselors and our advisors to where
Right.
one of our advisors still come to when we have our class reunion.
Okay.
They still come. And
Right.
so we had those. But then I had older brothers and sisters. I'm number 7 out of 8. So
Oh
I
wow.
had all over other older brothers and
Right.
sisters. So they were protective and you know what I mean? And so that right there was also, I had that.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I think too what you said. There are a lot of things that happen, can happen to when you're younger, and like you said, it takes that real love to say, hey, I think you're good. I like where you're going, but these are some things that you can clear up. And I can say in my own career, I had some of those people that said, hey, Sterling, I like you, but you did this wrong. You didn't respond to this question or this scenario right. Improve that, and then I can look back now and say, wow, thank you for that person that corrected me. Because if not, I would still been doing the same thing and losing out on opportunities and not knowing why. So let's transition some. So you mentioned before that you've been at Hopkins now for 25 years. That's a long time. So Talk about that. How did you guys started there, and what do you do at Hopkins?
I am now actually I work in the I'm a senior coordinator in the
Okay.
Department of Otolaryngology, which is ear, nose, and throat. Um, and I've worked in different departments. Or worked in our radiology department as a senior coordinator in our pet center, where we do positron emissions tomography for whole body scan for cancer patients.
Oh
I've
wow.
also worked in our adult ER, our peds ER, our imaging department. I kind of work like all over,
Right.
but I actually worked 2 jobs for 10 years in the institution and was in school full time. So I would leave one,
Oh
go to
wow.
the other on the different campuses. But the thing about it is that I've learned in those 25 years from the journey of starting out in customer service for our EHP, our employee health plan, party
Okay.
partners, which was in the Candler building, and then moving to different departments. You learn in the journey of it. You have ups, you have downs, because nothing's
Right.
perfect. It's perfect. It's life, but you learn how to balance. You learn how to adjust. But if you love what you do, and that's a passion and purpose of what you do, you'll keep moving forward. And so
Right.
now here it is, 25 years later. I've been blessed to be one of the only employees that have won every single award
Oh
in the
wow.
institution. Here from the highest award, which is the
Right.
Edward Halley Award. Out of 24,000 employees, they give that award to one employee a year.
Hmm.
And so being able to that, and the second highest, which is the MLK, and all the customer service awards. So that's a blessing, to knowing that somebody's
Right.
watching, what you do and the patient care. And so even with, whatever ups and downs or your journey, but the good still always outweigh the bad.
Right. Can you share some of the ups and downs that you experienced along the way?
Oh, absolutely. 4 years ago, I'll just say, since that was recent, 4 years
Okay.
ago, I was in another department taking a career move. It started out good. And Lord and behold, it just took a turn when
Right.
maybe 10 months into it, I was like, this is just not me. And
Yeah.
so I went to all three of my bosses, the administrator, the assistant director, and the director, poured my heart out, shared my truth. They were fine. They did a letter because you had to be in the position a year to transition out.
Oh
And
okay.
so they did a wonderful letter. Next thing you know, the one boss, it just went from like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I'm like, they weren't helping me,
Right.
and I still check up on them to this day
Hmm.
because I don't hold stuff. But it was for also a learning experience. And so with that, I was like, this is just not for me. And I've never felt in 25 years, well, yes, now 25 years, but in over 20 plus years, that I didn't want to go to that department. I didn't want to
Right.
go to work. And it just started turning out, you know, that it was not going favorable,
Hmm.
because I
Right.
didn't feel that until I had to call EOC, until I called the president at 4 a.m. Oh, absolutely.
Right.
But I have that rapport and relationship. But the thing about it is that you learn, you grow. But here's what I said. What did I learn in it?
Hmm.
What did I apply? And what did I take away? What could I have done better? And a lot of times it's easier to shift the blame, but not self examine.
Right.
I know I wouldn't take another job like that. I wouldn't care how much they was paying, because that's not me. I learned a lot. And if I had to do that, I know it. But I
Right.
wouldn't, because that's not a passion. And so
Right.
I know that I would ask more questions, even if they didn't want to answer them. And so it was a lot that I self-examined, but then I
Right.
took away a lot of information and knowledge, and now, even if I did it here, because I still apply it to where I am now.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think one of what you said was, I think a lot of times in life we're not happy with something and we internalize that and we hold it in, and that creates anger and frustration. But really telling your story, hey, this is how I feel. I think sometimes things can be alleviated sometimes if we just share how we're feeling. So thanks for sharing that. So let's kind of fast forward to now. What are you doing now? What are you working on now?
Still, of course, at Hopkins. Like I said, going back. I'll be back in
Right.
school next month to carry business school, but I'm working on another book.
Okay.
I just released one, but I'm actually working on another book.
And what was your
And
first
of
book
course,
called again? The title of your first book?
my first book is called "The Power of the Seed,"
Okay.
and then
What's
my
that about?
second. The power of the seed, it deals with the natural aspect and spiritual aspect
Okay.
about the process, preparation, sowing of seed,
Okay.
the whole
Right.
sowing, the reaping, the nurturing,
Okay.
and from a farmer's perspective, from a natural to a biblical perspective for a
Right.
believer.
Okay.
And so it helps you to understand that there's process. You've got to make sure before you can seed, sow, and
Okay.
plant
Great.
that you got to go through the necessary process,
Right.
getting the ground ready before you can do all of that. And then it helps you understand that how powerful the seed is. And once all of it's said and done, then it's going to be a harvest of that
Right.
which you're expecting. And so it's real powerful because it helps people even dealing in the financial area as a
Right.
believer. When we deal with seeding, we deal with sowing, we deal with tithing. And
Hmm.
so from the natural to the spiritual aspect, it helps you understand how powerful the seed is.
Great. Awesome. All right. Okay. And your latest book you're working on is what's that
um
about?
that one, well, I just released this one, which is my next season is due season,
Okay.
uh, which deals with it is kind of tied into that.
Right.
But this one deals with the shifting in our seasons, as well as also deals with process preparation,
Okay.
knowing that you cannot skip seasons and how to handle and how to endure from one season to the next, knowing that you cannot skip seasons. I've got to endure winter to get to spring, even though some days it may feel like it's
Yeah.
spring, but yet spring starts, say, on March the 20th, yet it feels like it's still winter.
Right. Okay.
And so it helps you not to get weary while I'm going from one season to the next. How to wait,
Right.
how to that posture of waiting and not get weary or not get anxious, knowing that I have another season coming after this.
Right. Great. How can someone purchase those books? Are they on Amazon, or how can somebody buy
They're
those?
Yeah, they're on Amazon, Barnes and
Okay.
Nobles, or I tell people if you just can't, they're in the libraries.
Right. Okay. Great. All right. And you said you're writing another book now, a third
Yeah, I
book.
mean, yeah, I have one that's actually being reviewed now called
Okay.
How to Handle Patient and Endurance.
Okay.
Because in life, most people say don't pray for patience, but
Right.
life will teach you that. And so it
Right.
helps you to understand dealing with the patience, dealing with the endurance. It's not how fast you run, but that you
Right.
endure. It's not how you start, but how you finish. And so when you deal with this thing called patience, when you deal with this endurance, like with the turtle and the rabbit I use as an illustration, it wasn't how fast he was going. He just kept on going.
Right.
He focused on the finish line. He endured the race. He crossed the finish line. Too many
Hmm.
times we're trying to outrun the next, but yet it's the endurance. So it tells you how to just run this race with patience.
Right. Okay. Great. All right. So we have a segment that I like to call name explain that gram. And what we do is we go to your Instagram account, we pull a picture, a post from that, and we have you explain it. So this picture is yourself and I believe two other speakers, and you guys are having a good laugh. Tell me about this picture and what's going on in this picture.
Well, that was when we finished shooting the first commercial for BSN, which is Black Speakers Network. Brian Oates is the CEO, and we had just finished shooting the commercial for BSN, and we come into the lobby, and it was just at this moment, and I call it the $1 million ideal, where we were
Okay.
brainstorming, where we were coming together as one and in
Right.
unity, just bringing something to fruition. And so we were captured, just nothing scripted, and
Okay.
we just broke out into a laugh because it just was that kind of a day that we had. And so
Right.
I was telling him it's the $1 million ideal.
Okay, great. Well, my next question that I ask every guest, and it's kind of on the same, I guess, millionaire idea. So, we in this podcast right now, you go out your front door, you look down the ground, and you see a ticket for $10 million. What do you do with that money?
One, my first thing I would do is I would tithe. I would burn the mortgage on my house, my
Right.
church, my pastors, and then I would invest. But I would talk with him because he's such a good person of financial. He teaches it. He's just anointed to do it and
Right.
invest. But and then not only that, I would build my business, which I have my coaching business, the Power of Influence coaching service. And so I would definitely retire from my
Right.
job. but I would bless, and I one of the things I would want to do is what I want to do, and I am is build a shelter and to be
Okay.
able to help those less fortunate.
Right. Okay. All right. Great. All right. So, tell everybody how can they contact you if they want to buy your book, if they want to book you for speaking for services. How can people find you online, and how can they contact you?
I am. They can Google me because I am on there. If you go to the library, look me up, Dr. Erica Holmes. My books are there. My bio is in there. They can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or contact me. They can go to Instagram, which is the Power of the Seed. Not only that, they can go to LinkedIn, Eric Holmes. They can go to Twitter, Dr. Eric Holmes, or Facebook, Eric Holmes, and they can reach me on all of the social media. Like I said, if they look in there, my bio's in there, or they can Google it. It is something on Google. Or if they go to Black Speakers Network to the directory, I am in the directory.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Dr. Holmes, thank you again for being on the program and sharing your story and your journey as well. Before we end, is there one last thing, one word of encouragement you want to leave anybody with? If so, feel free to share that.
Again, thank you, my awesome, amazing brother. I appreciate you, this platform. I appreciate you, man. And one of the things is I want to tell people, don't let your visions and dreams die, and don't allow others to cause them to die. Don't even allow yourself to cause them to die. If you have a vision, if you have a dream, continue to work the vision and build the brand and live on purpose. Don't just exist, but live. Live on purpose. And whatever you do, quitting is not an option.
Great. Thank you for that. Thank you again for being on the program. Great information. So, once again, just hearing from Dr. Holmes about his journey, about his wins, about what he learned, shared so much. It was inspirational as well. So thanks for that. But once again, this has been In the Black, and every Thursday here at 5 p.m., we are sharing stories of diverse entrepreneurs, sharing their challenges, their ups, their downs, but most importantly, how they build a profitable business. So we'll see you here again next Thursday at 5 p.m. Take care. Bye.
Appreciate you, my brother.
All right, we're good.